We talk a lot about the benefits of community at work. We talk about communities of practice, networks, peer learning, knowledge sharing. This has been part of my career for decades now. My doctoral work was on communities of practice. I have written books about knowledge sharing. I've done many, many conference presentations and articles about community, and pretty much the conversation, mine or anyone else's, begins with this kind of optimistic assumption that people want to share, people want to connect, people want to participate, people want to help each other. And I think usually they do. But here's the thing I've learned from looking closely at communities. Community is not always automatically necessarily a good thing. I mean, it's one of those warm, fuzzy words like team or family that sounds good, but sometimes underneath there's a darker side to it. People bring all their human behavior in to those groups, and humans are going to be going to human. I have seen communities develop cliques. You probably have too, where intentionally or not, a small group becomes the real insiders and everybody else is everybody else, right? So there can be exclusion, maybe deliberate, maybe not. Communities of practice, one of the hallmarks is that they develop sort of their own language, their own acronyms. They can refer to anecdotes in kind of their own shorthand, and it can be unintentionally or intentionally exclusive. It maybe you forget to invite somebody to a meeting. Maybe there's a casual conversation, but it sends signals about who is in and who is not. I have seen knowledge hoarding. I worked for decades with very, very old school bureaucrats who liked being the person that people came to for the information. They played their cards very close. They did pretty much operate on a knowledge is power dynamic. And so they would keep information to themselves. They liked being in that role, sometimes for many, many years. There's taking without giving back. And honestly, I belong to a very engaging, dynamic, valuable community of practice I've written about a lot. And one of the things that made it finally collapse, and communities are organisms. They live and breathe and they have their time and they go on. But one of the biggest problems we had was the more popular we got, the more people came just to take stuff and never give anything back. You know, we talk about lurking online or in person as it's inherently positive. It's, you know, it's okay to observe. People learn in different ways, people participate in different ways, and that's true. Legitimate legitimate peripheral participation is an important part of learning. I don't argue that. But there's a difference between learning by observing and consistently consuming what a community produces without ever giving back, without ever acknowledging anybody, without ever giving credit maybe where it's due, without ever helping. I mean, bring donuts to the meeting or something, right? Sometimes people don't just withhold their participation, like I was just describing. Sometimes people actively block progress. I have worked with some human speed bumps, right, in my time. They resist new ideas, they undermine somebody's credibility, they withhold information, they create unnecessary obstacles, they want to stop the work. Sometimes you get downright Machiavellian behaviors where somebody's just throwing another person under the bus, right? Or undermining their work, or doing something in the relationship to advance themselves strategically while maybe hurting someone else. So here's the thing, all behavior is purposeful. We don't know what people find satisfying about not getting things done or undermining someone else, but we're not here to psychoanalyze them. We cannot spend all our time on that. None of this means community is bad, but it means community is human. And I think sometimes in our many conversations, we lose sight of that. I talk a lot about the increasing importance of learning and development, especially as we advance to, sorry, I'm looking at some notes. Uh, as we advance into a world where we are increasingly called upon to do less in the way of creating content and more in the way of supporting learning in other ways, I talk a lot about the role of learning and development and supporting and participating and maybe leading parts of the social infrastructure of an organization, the communities, the networks, the knowledge sharing, and that kind of thing. And I think we need to have an honest look at what goes on with the world of communities. First of all, don't romanticize the idea of community. Pay attention to who is participating and who is not, who gets ignored, who gets heard, who has influence, who has access to information can be a really valuable thing to know. Um, don't approve every problem can be solved by getting everybody to participate more, right? You can't just drag people along. And sometimes it's not about participation, it's about power, as we kind of talked about a minute ago. Um, invest in the people who are willing to be constructive participants. I've lectured about this over and over for many years. Find your advocates, find your champions, find the people who want to play nice, find the people who bring energy and enthusiasm and interesting thought and interesting artifacts and interesting contributions to a group and give them opportunities for that. Don't control everything. Deputize people to help lead some things, recruit people to ask some questions or bring something up or share something that they've done. Give them opportunities to contribute, make those contributions visible as much as you can. Help them connect with one another. Oh, you want to learn about other aspects of instructional design? Jane's got this great workshop she used to do on using music as an instructional element. She loves that stuff. Help them connect with one another and recognize you don't have to win everybody over. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is stop trying to turn the entire community into the community you wish it were. Find the people who were curious, generous, willing to share, willing to learn, willing to help, right? And build with them because the goal is not to create a community where everybody behaves perfectly. The goal is to create enough healthy participation, connection, and trust that the community can actually do useful work, uh, even when the humans in it are being human.